Hey, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from RicoScores bringing y'all some breaking news. Apparently, according to sources, teams have already been reaching out to the Washington football team about acquiring Dwayne Haskins through trade. And just to let y'all know, the 2020 NFL trade deadline is Tuesday, November 3rd. And we're in that trade deadline season. And like I've always said, the most you can ever get in a trade for a player, especially like a veteran player like a Ryan Kerrigan, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later, is around the trade deadline on draft day, like the day of the draft. That's when people's draft values are at their highest by far, especially with the trade deadline. Once injuries stack up and things like that and teams start to feel desperate. I mean, anytime people make decisions with a timer on their head, they're more likely to give up more value than they normally would if there wasn't a reduced amount of time that they had to make a decision. There wasn't a limited amount of time to do so. I mean, that's just basic human psychology. So the trade deadline and during the draft is the best time to trade people. And it looks like with Dwayne Haskins, the ties being completely severed, it's like almost no coming back from this situation. It seems like the best time to move him is right before the trade deadline. And it seems like he will end up getting traded before this trade deadline. And the teams that I feel like have the best chance of getting them are one of those teams that have a good quarterback now, but they're kind of older in age, and they may want to take a chance at developing somebody with a lot of potential like Dwayne Haskins, who I feel like can go to another team and be great. We just weren't patient enough with them here because we wanted to win sooner. But a team that has time to let him develop, let him sit behind somebody, get some preseason games in there, but has like a good veteran quarterback over him to teach him and let him work on his mechanics from behind the scenes, is probably his best situation. And again, I think he can end up being a great quarterback in this league, but he's just one of those guys that's going to need time. So somewhere like the Saints with Drew Brees, he's only getting older. I mean, I know they had Jameis Winston, but they might not believe in him. I mean, 50 interceptions is kind of crazy, so they may try to acquire Dwayne Haskins and groom him behind Drew Brees, especially since Dwayne Haskins is way younger than Jameis also. Then you have the Falcons with Matt Ryan, new regime. They may see the bright spots in Dwayne Haskins that a lot of us see and may try to trade for him. And then that would be mutually beneficial for both of us because, first of all, for us, with how Atlanta's looking right now, they may end up having a higher draft pick than us. So to get them out of the way in the Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields sweepstakes would be perfect for us from my point of view. But then also the trade value we can get for Dwayne Haskins would be great. Hopefully something fourth round or higher, but it may end up being something as low as a seventh. I have no idea what his trade value is right now. You ask certain people, some think second round, some people think seventh. I mean, there's nothing you can really do with that information. But yeah, and then the Falcons, they get a potentially franchise quarterback for cheap. They don't have to draft them in the first round. We did. They don't have to do that. They get to give up minimal value for a potentially franchise quarterback of the future that's very young. Matt Ryan is still a really good quarterback, but they can stick with Matt Ryan for a little while, let Dwayne Haskins learn behind him, and then go from there. Then you also have a team like the Colts who have Phillip Rivers, who this may be his last year or maybe next year. Again, bring Dwayne Haskins in behind him to develop him. The Patriots, maybe they want to re-sign Cam Newton, let Dwayne Haskins learn behind Cam Newton, or they don't re-sign Cam Newton and Dwayne Haskins has an opportunity to start for the Patriots next year. So especially since they're going to win too many games to be able to go get a great young quarterback talent in this draft anyway. They're not going to have a high enough draft pick to get a Trey Lance or a Justin Fields or a Trevor Lawrence. So they can either re-sign or not re-sign Cam Newton and still bring a Dwayne Haskins over no matter what. Either he can learn behind the Cam Newton if you re-sign him, or he can start immediately next year. Learn behind Cam Newton for the rest of this year and be ready to start come the 2021 season. Or even maybe the Vikings. Maybe the Vikings want to take him in and are ready to move on from Kirk Cousins. I mean, there's a lot of places Dwayne Haskins could go that you could see great scenarios for that team and our team. Because at this point, Dwayne Haskins will probably never play another snap for us no matter what happens, even if we don't trade him by the trade deadline. But I'm pretty sure we will. So at this point, any value we get in return is positive value, because right now we're getting none from Dwayne Haskins because, again, he'll never play in the burgundy and gold uniform again, I believe, even if we don't trade him. And then another team is getting a potentially franchise quarterback who has a lot of potential, just needs time to work on a lot of things. And then a lot of these teams, Dwayne Haskins' point of view, probably have better situations around them. A better receiving core, better offensive coordinator, more continuity, a better offensive line to work with, possibly a better run game. All of these different type of things that Dwayne Haskins will be happier there than he is here anyway. So it just sounds like a win-win for everybody at this point. And for me, as Rico as in RicoScores, I'm ready to go get a Trevor Lawrence or a Justin Fields in the draft. So again, it just sounds like a win-win for everybody. Hopefully, best case scenario, we end up with Trevor Lawrence. The team we end up trading Dwayne Haskins to, Dwayne Haskins starts to ball out and looks like the franchise quarterback I hoped he could be for us, but he won't. And then everybody wins. And hopefully we can flip whatever pick we get for Dwayne Haskins to build around the next quarterback we'll get. Maybe offensive line, maybe receiver, depending on what round the pick is. Also, trade deadline wise, there are also other candidates on this team that may end up getting traded. We may move a Ryan Kerrigan, especially if he's worth like a second or first round pick, to another team that's trying to make a Super Bowl run right now. I mean, that's probably a team that just needs a great edge rusher, and they're Super Bowl contenders immediately. And they'd be willing to give up way more value for Ryan Kerrigan right now for this Super Bowl push than they'd be willing to give at any other point throughout the year. Again, that's why trade values are so high right before the trade deadline. You finally have a good look at what your team is going to be for the rest of the season. You have a good feel of whether you're a Super Bowl contender or not. And if you're just a Pro Bowl edge rusher away from having a good chance of getting a Super Bowl ring, you'd be willing to give up way more than you normally would. Probably a second or maybe even a first round pick for just a 1 year rental. Especially a team like the Seahawks. Now, I don't think we do it because he's such a great leader. We love Ryan Kerrigan, and he's already said he wants to retire in the burgundy and gold. But at the same time, even though I kind of prefer to keep Ryan Kerrigan, unless a team is offering a first round pick, maybe even a second, I prefer to keep Ryan Kerrigan. But the advantages are that we get to clear some cap space. $6 million if we wanted to go get somebody right now from free agency to add to this team this year. Plus, we're not using him that much anyway. I mean, he gets quite a bit of playing time, but he's not even starting. So he would get a chance to play for a team that can get him a ring before he retires. The best opportunity for him to get a ring right now because the Seahawks look unstoppable. I mean, literally, they could be a Ryan Kerrigan away from being one of the best teams in the league, if arguably not the best. So I see the advantage for them and us. Same with Ryan Anderson. Teams were trying to trade for him during the offseason. So I'm pretty sure the market is still out there. And again, it's getting closer to the trade deadline, so we could probably get more from him in a trade right now than we could have gotten during the offseason. And plus, again, just like Ryan Kerrigan, Ryan Anderson is coming off the bench. I love his potential. I would love to have him on the team, but if a team is offering a lot of value for him, like a second round pick or something, then hey man, for somebody that's not starting on our team that could potentially start somewhere else, that's a big win-win for all of us. And to be able to get more draft capital in this upcoming draft with all of this talent to build for the future. And like I've been saying, I don't think we're 3 years away from being a great team. I think after we finally spend an off season, a free agency period, being aggressive and actually going to fill team needs instead of going to get guys to develop, once we actually fill team needs and actually try to build this team for winning, which we didn't do this past off season, that's why it looks so bad. But once we actually try to build this team as a winning team and then we draft accordingly to fill team needs as well, I can see us being a great team 2021 and beyond. I can see us having a big turnaround next year. Because again, this past offseason, Ron Rivera and Kyle Smith didn't try to fill team needs. They just tried to acquire a lot of young, cheap talent, see what they can do, try to develop them and things like that. But we didn't go and get the big names at each position of need. Offensive line, tight end, receiver, and all of that type of stuff. I mean, supposedly we tried to get Amari Cooper. I'm not exactly sure if that's true. But even then, outside of the receiving core, we didn't even try to fill team needs. We just went with the young, cheaper guy to see if we can develop him. If it didn't work out, whatever. If it did, we get to keep him and re-sign him. But I think this offseason, it's a great chance for us to finally actually go and get the top guys at each position. I mean, we can go and get David Bakhtiari at left tackle. We have more cap space than the Packers. We can go and get Joe Thuney at left guard. We have more cap space than the Patriots. Plus, the Patriots don't like to sign guys for huge contracts anyway. We can go up to Joe Thuney and let him know, hey, we can pay you more than the Patriots ever could or would be willing to. And from there, we could have a top half of the league offensive line already to prepare for the quarterback we're going to end up drafting in the draft. And I really think next year will be a great team, honestly. I don't think it's as bleak as a lot of people think. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. I just want to discuss that real quick. And as always, please like the video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you haven't. Definitely hit that bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification every time I release a video like this, or every time I schedule a live stream, every time I start up a live stream. Y'all already know the weekly live streams, the Friday night podcast, the during each game live stream on Sundays, and the post-game live stream where y'all call in after every game. And then, of course, I appreciate all of my supporters, everybody that donates to the channel, everybody that's a sponsor. I appreciate y'all so much, especially the Pro Bowl sponsors whose names you see scrolling on the screen right now. Really appreciate y'all, man. And, of course, I'm going to keep y'all updated on everything that's going on with the Haskins situation and everything burgundy and gold. So stay tuned. I'm going to catch y'all later. I'm out.